One of the coolest things we ever got to do is when we bought Shaka Bra, that cafe that we ran.
Yeah.
We ran for years and years. Is we got to hire back all the staff
So cool.
that had just lost their job, and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" Right? And then as Tina just worked her tail off and built that thing, we ended up with about 3 times the amount of employees because it grew.
Sure.
And those are our family. That's how we saw it. Those were our family. I mean, a lot of people made a lot more money than Tina ever made, running a restaurant as the owner.
Yeah.
Because her mindset is, as a disciple of Jesus, we exist blessed to be a blessing. So sure, did we eat there? Did Tina take a salary? Of course she did. But we saw that as what a way to bless the city.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And if you've ever eaten at Shaka Bra, it is a blessing.
It is a blessing.
To see how do we change culture. It's not by shouting at the darkness. It's not being a hater. It's not like blowing up Facebook with everything you're against or what you're for and everybody else should be. It's about making disciples, first being one,
Sure.
and making disciples within the culture, within the pillar that God's already divinely, sovereignly placed each of us.
Welcome to the Everyday Disciple Podcast, where you'll learn how to live with greater intentionality and an integrated faith that naturally fits into every area of life. In other words, discipleship as a lifestyle. This is the stuff your parents, pastors, and seminary professors probably forgot to tell you. And now, here's your host, Caesar Kalinowski.
Hello, Heath. What's going on here this fine autumn, day? Here we are.
Newly autumn.
Yeah.
Doing great, man. Excited about today's episode.
Super good episode. I've had a crazy busy week. How about yourself?
Yeah, super busy.
Right? It's not even Easter, man. Like you're not Christmas or Easter. You're still busy.
Yeah, it's like nothing
Are
is
you
going
looking
on.
forward to all those big holidays coming up? The old big ranch there you working at?
Not really. It's a lot of. It just means more work.
Yeah.
But
gosh, man. I've been super busy this week as well, but I've also had some really good family time and time with my grandson, and it was great.
Growing up.
FaceTiming with him today. He's like, it's so amazing. Completely technology. Good. Normal. So funny.
The times they are changing. They say.
Times are just amazing. We live in the best time ever, I think. So.
I do. We live in a great time, man. And today we're actually going to talk about culture and how it's woven together. And some
what's cool about the word culture within Christianity is we always describe the culture, and in our minds, it's out there.
Yeah.
You're like, what's going on in the culture today? We never include ourselves in it, emotionally. Like today we're going to talk about how do you change culture? Oh, yeah, because they need that.
Yeah, it's always that.
So so when we talk about this today, let's remember we are the culture. We are part of the culture. I'm not talking about Christianity as its subculture. That it is, but we're also a part of the city you live in and, the whole culture.
Dude, that actually reminds me of a couple weeks ago, we talked about happiness with David McDonald.
Oh, so good.
My mentor, my professor. And he actually, just the other day in a forum for my school, wrote this little paragraph on Christianity culture. And he said, it's an old conversation, but it's a good one. I tend to think of culture as the sea we live in. Fish don't notice the sea, nor can they escape it. Clearly, Christians are meant to live in the sea, in the world. But unlike fish, we must be able to differentiate ourselves from it. Hence, we're more like dolphins or whales. We're in the sea, but ultimately derive our oxygen from the world above.
Wow.
So, isn't that crazy? Like
That's
we think of culture is out there, and
so we're going to talk about culture today. And there's, this isn't brand new thought. Okay. Like we didn't dream this stuff up, but all sort of cities and cultures are woven together with some pretty fundamental pillars, pretty fundamental segments of culture. And a lot of really smart sociologists and historians and all have looked at this stuff and written deeply on it and informed some of our talk today. They've identified 7 pillars that all society and culture are built upon. And why I think this is important for us and why we want to talk about it today is Jesus helped us clarify the purpose of the gospel when he gave us the mission in Matthew 28 of go make disciples.
Yep.
And so that the whole world would be filled with his glory. Go make disciples everywhere because Jesus is the glory of God. And so as we make disciples who make disciples, the world is full of his glory. So the world, if all these cities and all these cultures are made up of these 7 pillars, they give us a really effective way of sort of looking at, how do we engage? When we talk about engaging culture, can you really engage the culture? For me, when I first heard these 7 pillars and we began to put sort of a gospel intentionality onto it,
sure,
I just saw them as like, here are 7 doorways straight into how you or me or anybody listening might have just a very natural sort of on-ramp into how they'll make disciples and where and with who, and a very natural fit.
Yeah. And I love when you say fill the world with his glory. Another way for people who don't know really what glory means is to fill the world what God is like. And so these are the 7 avenues in a secular culture where we can actually show the world what God is like. So,
and they all exist everywhere. So we're not talking anybody into this or asking them to swim in different lanes. You'll see. I'm going to go over them real quick here. Here's the 7 pillars, and we'll chat through them. Okay,
yeah, let's go through the 7.
Okay, so here's the 7, and I don't think there's any order to them. Maybe there is. There's probably some people talking about how they're built upon each other. But okay,
sure.
Family. There's media and the arts.
Okay.
There's business, sort of the whole business and trade.
Okay.
Education.
Massive. Yep.
Educational system. Healthcare.
Huh.
Government.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's religion, and that's generally grouped together with service-based organizations. That's how the sociologists look at it. And I think that's a pretty fair fit, because at least for most of history, religion was the service-based organization. In other words, the church served everybody.
Yeah.
And now we've got a lot of nonprofits and a lot of other things, but culturally, those are together. So family, media and the arts, business, education, healthcare, government, and then religion.
Yeah. And it's interesting that only one of those 7 pillars actually includes religion, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's not all the pillars of culture. It's a pillar of culture.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, all of these 7, did they exist like when Jesus was walking on the planet?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we said, well, there wasn't media in the arts. They had their arts.
Yeah, for sure they did.
And media wasn't TV and electronic. But if guys were writing on scrolls and carrying them around or putting them up on walls for people to read outside the temple, or, in Rome somewhere, Colosseum, that's media back then. Paintings, plays, there was news, all that stuff. So media, education,
is not new.
None of this is new.
Yeah.
This has been around as long as culture, society has been around. Okay.
So this makes a lot of sense to me, and it seems like it's not only true, but probably makes obvious sense to other folks listening. But when I think of engaging the culture, my mind naturally runs to this like social reform or helping the homeless, or maybe even Christians hanging out with, quote unquote sinners. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And I'm the same way. Like when I think, engaging the culture, it's all that stuff you just listed. But people, all humans, we all live and work and are gifted and engaged in culture in one of these 7 pillars, minimally. And so it gives us as missionaries, that's part of our identity, it gives us as God's missionary family a way to engage people in ways that are meaningful to them. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for so long, our whole approach to engaging the culture was to just sort of shout at it from afar.
Sure.
What was wrong with it, right? Who's the guy who, I think it might be from the book Roaring Lambs, it's like, we can either light a light or curse the darkness.
Yeah, Rob Reiner, yeah.
Right? And so, true. But what if you could enter into a lane, a pillar of culture that's important to someone, and join them in that, and then begin to make disciples within that lane, right? Within that pillar. So, and that's key. Instead of trying to get them and pull them out of culture, why don't we just enter into that culture? We already live there.
Sure.
So most everybody has a family. So that's why I say 1 or more.
Yeah.
But some people are involved in business. Some people are involved in educational system. Some people work in healthcare. Now, I'm not saying every job would fall in one of these, but every job segment would fall into one of these 7 pillars, sectors, right?
Absolutely.
And so this gives us a way to kind of look at things and not be paralyzed by the culture needs changing.
Sure.
How are you going to change the culture? Well, you're going to change it a person at a time by making disciples to make disciples. Well, who? Well, I don't know. Which of these 7 pillars really stand out to you? So like, I've been a businessman my whole, adult life.
Right.
And I've been in ministry since, my whole life too,
Yep.
But I see business as just part of my life, but it's a very big pillar. It's one of the 7 pillars of culture. And so for me to engage business people at a business level and be involved in like, downtown committee and the revitalization of my downtown, or be in the Chamber of Commerce, or be involved in a business association, that's one of the pillars that I can enter right into, and it's easy, and people are leaning into relationship with me, and we all have a common goal.
Sure.
Right? We have some stuff going on. So there's this huge like, wow, they're super interested in it. So am I. Low-hanging fruit relationally.
Absolutely.
And as we'll see here in a minute, we're going to talk through this. If I could start to make disciples who make disciples out of, business owners,
Yeah.
that's going to change some things in our city. That's going to start to change the culture, and we'll kind of look at
Yeah.
that. But for me, it'd be harder? Government. See, because I'm not a politician. I don't work for the city. I don't work in any layer of government. So for me to say, like, well, I'm going to make disciples of, Supreme Court justices,
Yeah.
probably not.
Leave that to little C.
Yeah, I'll leave that to my son, right? But so I think this will become more clear as we go. But like right now, just as people think through those 7 pillars, think about which of those are you sort of naturally already engaged in, and you're actually either passively or actively creating culture within that pillar already.
Yeah. So I know this is a new way of thinking for many. I'm 33 and I've been raised in this church world that says, hey, you don't go engage culture, you bring people to us and we'll put on the events. And so I just recently heard from Leonard Sweet that up until the early 1900s, even in America, the greatest art dealers in towns were the pastors. I mean, they had the best collections of art, and that's how they made half their salaries, was they were art people.
Wow, that's cool.
Which is really cool. I'm like, man, why don't we have the art? So looking at the future where this post-Christian culture, especially in the Northwest, this is actually exciting to me because it gives us an ability to go serve our culture in a better way. But I'm sure for many, it's very different than the programmatic approach of doing church.
All right, so let's just kind of brainstorm conversation back and forth, looking at the, just a handful of these 7 pillars,
Sure.
and what it would look like if more and more disciples were being made within each of these. Because we want to talk about how does God, fill the world with His glory through people,
Yeah.
right? And how people all live within these pillars. So let's just try it out.
Sure.
What is the focus of media and the arts these days, like today? If there's no disciples involved in it, like what's its focus on? What's it about? What's it proclaiming? What's the message that a lot of media and the art has if there's no disciples of Jesus involved?
Yeah, it's all about you. It's what you're lacking. It's what you don't have. It's what you could have. It's what
Too fat,
need
too
to
thin,
have,
not
yeah.
rich enough, not tall enough,
sure.
not
It's
smart
pretty much
enough,
like what
not
we're
clever
looking at.
enough. It's pretty much all advertising driven, which means it's product based. So it's just designed to promote your lack.
Yeah, designing. Yeah, exactly.
But imagine, like, what if there was more and more disciples of Jesus? People really understood the kingdom and lived the kingdom life and made disciples. What if there was more and more disciples working within media and the arts? Think about, like, what if Fallon and Lady Gaga and Oprah and Spielberg were all disciples, or even in proximity to disciples?
Yeah, I mean, initially my mind goes to some of these news networks and the way they just pin people against each other to fight for their positions, and I go, maybe we'd actually serve one another better. Maybe we'd love one another. Maybe we'd
More
seek to
redemptive
understand
stories,
one another.
more
Yeah.
of the good news that's going on, mostly,
Yeah.
going on in the world, instead of the focus. I was telling Tina this morning, I think, I'm so close to just going news fast. I can't take it. It's so bad. It's so hateful all the time, right? Now, how important do you think media and the arts are at shaping like worldview right now of people? Like, let's say teenagers.
Yeah, it's mostly what the average American's watching 4 hours of news a day or TV a day.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that's not massively affecting.
Is there anything more, do you think, influential on worldview and how the world works and what I think of the world and myself than media?
Nope.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
So would it be a worthwhile endeavor for the church to say, we're going to make disciples who make disciples? Specifically, we're going after media and the arts.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, we're going to do it. We're going to fund and train and support and pray up and support missionaries, disciples
yeah,
within media and the arts.
be cool, man.
What if they did for 30 years? You know how like some churches like will say like, hey, we're picking a city, we're going deep,
Yeah.
or a country, like we're going to Haiti and we're just going to, like, for 30 years, man, we're going to make a difference. What if a group of churches said, you know what, media and the arts, that's our jam, we're going after it. Think that would begin to have an effect on culture?
There'd be a tipping
And
point
that's-
eventually. Yeah,
Yeah, right?
absolutely.
Let's do another one
Okay.
of the pillars. What about the educational system? Like,
Yeah.
what is the focus of the educational system? What does it look like when there's no disciples of Jesus involved?
Yeah, it's get a better education so you can get a better job, so you can bargain a better salary, so you can have ultimately a bigger house one day and more titles behind your name. It's self-serving at its core.
Yeah, get as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
And it's all due to be like crazy. Like, if you do this, then you'll be this, and if you do this, you get there. I can remember friends back in New York, and this was really magnified there.
Sure.
Like throwing up literally almost over their child not maybe going to get into the right preschool, And if they don't get into the right preschool, they won't get the first, the right elementary school, which means they'll never queue up for the right middle school. I mean, they
What
had it all.
pressure on a 3-year-old.
Oh my God. And then they're throwing up over it. Like, we might have to move.
man.
We might, I don't know. It was just crazy, right?
That's amazing.
But what if education was full of disciples who made disciples? And what if students were taught your education's not just a way to make a living. Your education is so that out of the overflow of that gift that you've been given,
You can be a blessing to others.
right?
Sure.
There's a school here in Tacoma, Washington called SOTA, School of the Arts, SOTA, SOTA. And it's a performing arts school. You go 3 years, so you go from your sophomore year through your senior year.
Sure.
This is so cool. So people are dancers, people are like artists, people are drawers, painters, writers, set builders, video, musicians, singers, dancers, all of it, right? They got that. But they also do all the academics too. Here's what's so cool about SOTA. The whole time you're there, you're working towards a senior project.
Okay.
3 years you work on it, your senior project. Your senior project, whatever it is within your discipline of dance or media or whatever it is, has to be a benefit to the city of Tacoma.
That's cool.
So you perform it or you install it, you show it, you whatever, right? And it has to be a benefit to the city. So the whole time they're doing their education for 3 years, they're thinking about, oh, my senior project, and I have to do it to graduate. And this education is so I can be a blessing to my city.
That's great.
Think about the difference that would be if part of your education was like, no, we've been given all these gifts and smarts, blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah.
And I'm not,
a whole different way of
talking
doing
about
it.
educators and and people like with curriculum and the people who set budgets and all that. I'm not talking about all the schools that become Christian schools.
Sure.
I'm just saying, but what if there was more? You want to change culture? What if the educational system began to tip and it wasn't all about me and what I got out of it, and by the way, it used to not be?
Sure.
Wouldn't that change culture?
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you an educator out there? Are you a teacher? Do you write curriculum? Do you write books for schools? Do you help set budgets? Do you sit on school boards? You have the ability, if you make disciples, to start to change the culture of education, which, oh my goodness, would change the culture of our cities,
Yeah.
country.
It's a whole different approach than the escapism model of, no, we're not going to send people there. We're going to start our own thing and circle the wagons.
Yeah. As soon as we pull out of something, we say the gospel can't redeem it. And so then we have to do our own version of it so it can be nice and neat and clean.
Yeah.
That is not why Jesus came, like he incarnated. That's like decarnation.
That's
A friend of mine just gave me that term, isn't it? It's
great.
It's right. It's like decarnation. Let's do another pillar.
Sure.
Okay. Imagine, say business.
okay.
What's the focus of business and businesses if there's no disciples of Jesus involved in them?
Yeah, it's grow more so you can make more money, so you can have a bigger house and you can have more toys and you can,
For who?
for yourself.
For the owners, right?
Yeah, for the owners. Yeah.
For the shareholder or for the owners.
Sure.
Maximize what you can get out of, each employee, out of your time.
Yeah.
Maybe pay them less, a little less benefit, whatever. I'm not saying everybody's that way, but generally,
By and large.
sure. I mean, that's why people are so anti-corporate and all that stuff, right?
Sure.
But what if more and more businesses were run by people who were disciples of Jesus, and they knew how to make disciples within business? So they saw their employees as family, and they saw the profit that they made as something that is a blessing to them, but is a blessing to be able to be, like, hey, I'm going to help educate my employees. I'm going to help them educate their families. I'm going to make sure they have better health care.
Yeah.
All right. And like, no one's going to mandate it. I'm just going to do it because that's how I see business. It exists to provide these jobs. One of the coolest things we ever got to do is when, like 8-9 years ago now, when we bought Shaka Bra, that cafe that we ran,
Yeah.
we just sold, but we ran for years and years, is we got to hire back all the staff
So
that
cool.
had just lost their job, right? And they were like, oh my gosh, right? And then as Tina just worked her tail off and built that thing, we ended up with about 3 times the amount of employees because it grew.
Sure.
And those are our family. That's how we saw it. Those were our family. I mean, a lot of people made a lot more money than Tina ever made, running a restaurant as the owner.
Yeah.
Because her mindset is, as a disciple of Jesus, we exist blessed to be a blessing. So sure, did we eat there? Did Tina take a salary? Of course she did. But we saw that as what a way to bless the city.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And if you've ever eaten at Shaka Bra, it is.
It is a blessing.
So we're not going to go through all of these, but you think about if God's eternal plan was to fill the world with his glory, right? And Jesus is the glory of the Father. Then that's why Jesus said, go make disciples and fill every area. How do families get restored? a person at a time. As people become disciples of Jesus, then their lives are restored and their families are restored. And as families are restored, so are neighborhoods and so are
Sure.
cities, right? And these 7 pillars give us a lens into something we're already probably engaged in deeply just because of the rhythms of our life,
Yep.
to see how do we change culture. It's not by shouting at the darkness. It's not being a hater. It's not like blowing up Facebook with everything you're against or what you're for and everybody else should be. It's about making disciples, first being one,
Sure.
and making disciples within the culture, within the pillar that God's already divinely, sovereignly placed each of us.
That's
To me,
good.
that is so powerful, because when I look at the macro, like our culture is going to hell in a handbasket, like we have to fix the culture. Like how? But if I think, well, as a business owner, I'm going to go after there. And we said religion and service-based organizations was one of the pillars.
Yep.
Won't it be awesome when there's a lot more disciples being made within the church?
Yeah.
I don't say that. I don't say
we've
that
forgotten how to do
sarcastically.
that, yeah.
We've talked about that a lot. There's not a whole lot of discipleship going on in a lot of our churches. So even that aspect of it and the way we serve our communities as the church is going to radically change as we make disciples who make disciples, and they see their whole life is caught up in this eternal mission that God has to fill the world with His glory. Beautiful.
That's
We
good.
get to do this. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Well, as we're wrapping up, we want to get to the big 3 for this week. And the way you get the big 3 is by going to everydaydisciple.com/big 3.
What are the big 3? Explain what that is.
Yes, the big 3 are 3 takeaways we want people to have right now, tangibly, that they could walk away with, get involved with, even starting right now. And we've been using this head, heart, hands approach, which is kind of
something to kind of know, something to believe, and then something you can get after.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So
totally
here's
free.
the big 3 today. So making disciples that make disciples within any and all of the 7 pillars is how the world will be filled with God's glory. Even if you're not aware of it, that's what's happening. It really is. So we get to intentionalize it. And it's how He will use you, everyone listening, to accomplish His eternal purpose of filling the world with His glory. So your goal with engaging any of these pillars is to identify and build discipleship relationships, not just do good works or acts of service.
It's great, man.
Pretty big. I think we
2
almost
totally different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about it.
Lot of-
That's huge difference.
A lot of good people doing good things, but the discipleship matters. Yeah.
Yeah, and just being nice doesn't change the world like that, right?
exactly.
They need Jesus, okay? Second of the big 3, believe that God has uniquely and sovereignly placed you right where He wants you within one or several of the pillars
Okay.
of culture. He's gifted you, and He's gifted everyone and given you relationships of trust within this segment of your culture already. Just think about it. I know you have them. The level of intentionality that we bring to this will determine how effective we'll be at engaging and transforming that part of culture. It won't happen structurally, like through just the passing of laws, because the hearts won't change. It will happen relationally.
Yep. It's beautiful, man.
We always think we can fund the problem away.
Sure.
That's why we wrangle over government styles of government and politics and healthcare, and we think we can just fund it away or whatever. It's like, no, change doesn't happen that way. It happens relationally. It's going to happen. Okay.
It's beautiful.
Third, look at right now. This is so the hands part of this. Get right after it. Look at and pray through the 7 pillars and see where you have the most natural engagement already. Because everybody does. Stop and think about it. Talk about it at dinner today, or whatever.
Yep.
Then look to engage people within that sphere of culture in ways that you can serve them, earn their trust, and build relationships that can then move beyond just being acquaintances to becoming relationships in community with discipleship as your focus. I know that, and some people are going to go I don't get it. You want to change the culture, build relationships within that pillar, and disciple some people.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, if we focused on that, and if a church or a community or a family even just picked one of the pillars and said, that's it for the next 30 years, that's our focus, you're going to look back over your shoulder in a few years and you're going to see massive cultural shift.
Yeah.
Because the ethos, the heart of it's all going to change. Look for those people of peace who are already leaning into relationship within that pillar that you are already living in.
Yep.
And seek to build relationships for discipleship. Did I get too heavy today?
Yeah. Not too heavy. It was great. We hope you download this week's big 3 takeaways. And again, to do that, all you have to do is go to everydaydisciple.com/big 3. You get the notes immediately. And that's for this week's big 3. And if you're not part of our Facebook group yet, we'd encourage you to join us. All you have to do is go to Facebook on the search bar, type in the Everyday Disciple podcast, and there's a growing community of people there where we actually are able to engage conversation even deeper
Hang
than
out,
we do.
hang out a little bit together.
Get to know one another. So we hope you join us there. And if you're enjoying this podcast, if you wouldn't mind heading to iTunes, the 3 things that we ask that are super helpful is that you subscribe to the podcast, that you rate this show with lots of stars, and that you write up an honest review for us. Doesn't even have to be long. Short is fine. But that helps bless us, and it also lets Apple know that people are listening and gets our podcast out to new people.
Thanks for joining us today. For more information on this show and to get loads of free discipleship resources, visit everydaydisciple.com. And remember, you really can live with the spiritual freedom and relational peace that Jesus promised every day.